Brothers and sisters, we'll be starting a program with some verses from the Holy Quran. Please welcome Maryam Asaria with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال رب السجن أحب إلي مما يدعونني إليه وإلا تصرف عني كيدهن أصب إليهن وأكن من الجاهلين. فاستجاب له ربه فصرف عنه كيدهن إنه هو السميع العليم. ثم بدا لهم من بعد ما رأوا الآيات ليسجننه حتى حين. ودخل معه السجن فتيان قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه نبئنا بتأويله إنا نراك من المحسنين. قال لا يأتكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما ذلكما مما علمني ربي إني تركت ملة قوم لا يؤمنون بالله وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون. واتبعت ملة آبائي إبراهيم وإسحاق ويعقوب ما كان لنا أن نشرك بالله من شيء ذلك من فضله لله علينا وعلى الناس ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون. يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار. ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان إن الحكم إلا لصاحبي السجن أما أحدكما فيسقي ربه خمرا وأما الآخر فيسلب فتأكل الطير من رأسه قضي الأمر الذي فيه تستفتلان. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Brothers and sisters, we're very fortunate today to be joined by Ummul Baneen Merali to celebrate the Wiladat of Imam Ridha. Please welcome her with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Ummi Auntie is an internationally acclaimed scholar, educator and visionary leader with a profound background in Islamic education. As one of the 4 founding members of Hujjat Saturday Workshop, she has played a pivotal role in shaping Islamic learning experiences for countless individuals. Her contributions include organizing transformative summer camps in Stanmore, establishing parallel night classes for boys and girls, and creating special after-school workshops during the sacred months of Muharram, Safar and Ramadan. She is also the CEO and co-founder of Q Fatima. Ummi Auntie has revolutionized Islamic education by developing innovative, accessible and engaging resources. Please give her another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'm a little vertically challenged. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. At the outset, I'm not a scholar. I'm simply a mother of 5 awesome children, a grandmother of 9, and a glorified keyboard and microphone. That's all I am. So this scholar bit, please take it out, okay? So I'd like to talk a little bit, and I'm used to talking to children, so please excuse me for the simplicity of what I say. This is the month of Dhul Qa'dah. I'm going to start with, before I go to Imam Ridha, Dhul Qa'dah. And it's a month in which stubborn problems are resolved, like really difficult problems. Prophet Musa was called upon Mount Sinai on the 1st of Dhul Qa'dah. So this is known as Arba'in Kalamiyah. If you read the Quran, and maybe when you read the Salah in Dhul Hijjah, from Surah Al-A'raf, ayah 142, Allah says, وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلَةً. So he made a promise with Musa for 30 nights, and then وَأَتْمَمْنَا بِهَا, he finished it with 10, which is 40. So in my mind, this is a month of talking. I mean, sit and talk to Allah. I know the Ma'asumeen have taught us all these beautiful du'as, but I'm a koji, right? And as a koji, and I say that all the time, I pare and pare and pare. And very rarely do I look at what I'm saying. But when I talk to Allah, I actually talk to Him. Now, let me look at the example of Prophet Musa, right? So, Surah Taha, you can look it up, ayah 17. Allah says, وَمَا تِلْكَ يَمِينِكَ يَا Musa. What is in your hand, O Musa? Now, remember, Musa is talking to Allah, who is the knower of the seen and the unseen. Now, he could have said, this is only my staff. But he says, this is my staff. I lean on it. I hit the bushes with it. The leaves fall. My sheep eat that leaf. And I also use it for other things. There was a prolonging conversation. For you and me, sometimes when we sit down, and I'm sorry to say this, but pare and pare and pare, it's nice to sit and talk. And it reminds me of a friend of mine who used to go to Sham every single month. I know it's a little bit difficult at the moment to go to Damascus, but she used to go every month. And she said, funnily enough, when I went one time, the partition between the men and women in Damascus is quite low, so you can see on the other side. So she said, this man came along with his suitcase, and he said, Assalamu alaikum, Bibi. I've come. I know Allah is the first cause, but I'm coming to you and asking you. I've lost everything, and I've come straight from the airport. I have nowhere to stay, no money. I've lost my family. I've lost my job, so on and so forth. And she said, I sat there and I thought, for God's sake, read the ziyarah first. Why are you just talking like this at the Zari? And she said, I sat there and I thought, this man's not right. 6 months, 8 months down the line, I think, she says, lo behold, the same man again. And she said, he came along and he said, I've come to say thank you. Because of your wasila, things have become better. I've got my job back, I've got my family back. And to me, that's what talking is about. Marhum Askar always used to tell me, put these du'as on one side and just talk to God in your language. He actually understands every language, including Kutchi, by the way. It's recommended in this month to recite La ilaha illallah. And when we talk about Imam Ridha, we'll come to it as well. Now, Sundays in Dhul Qa'dah is special. I know you know all this, but reminders are good. Quran says, in Naf'at dhikra, it's good to remember again. So Sunday, if you have a special need that's not budging, use this month, right? So there's a 4 rakat salah in twos. You have Fatiha, 3 times Ikhlas, Falak and Nas, which most of you know. After the salah, that's 70 times Istighfar. You can look this up. And then La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-azim. And then there's 2 names of Allah. And I'm pretty, at the moment, I'm into Asma al-Husna, and you probably are as well. It's Ya Aziz, Ya Ghaffar, Ighfir dhunubi. وذنوب جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات فإنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. It's the salah of istighfar. Recite it, use it. You don't get Dhul Qa'dah back again until next year. So can we have a salawat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah. So today we're here to talk about Imam Ridha. I'm a bit old-fashioned. I don't like these gadgets, although I have all of them, and I use a proper notebook. Okay. Now, when we come to the Ma'asumeen, and this is something that, again, like I said, I'm a teacher of, or I'm a teacher. I'm a student of young children, and they teach me more than anything else. So when we built Quran City, we actually built a city out of the 114th surah of the Quran. We had to connect all the suburbs together. And the way we connected them was with a road system called M14. You all recognize M5 and M4 and whatever. This was M14, the 14 Muslimin. And so it's quite important that they understand not only the Quran, but the living Quran as well. Now, in my mind, when we come to Imam Rida, I do the same thing as I do with the Quranic surahs. With every surah we have, we teach the children a focus, because there is a thread running through every surah. So we teach them a focus. As soon as they look at a building or at a surah, they know what that surah is about. We then divide it into sections, so they can understand it a bit better. Then we look at the various ayat that will relate to them, and then we look at the surah in detail. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with Imam Rida. So the first thing we're going to do is look at what was his life, what was he about? What was his life about? Every imam had something. This particular imam looked at education. That was his priority. Community cohesion was his priority, because the Banu Umayyah and Banu Abbas were always fighting, and they caused a problem within the community. So it's simplistic education, but it was very good education. And remember that his education was in a hostile environment. They didn't like him. They didn't like him at all. So if you're thinking of Imam Rida, education, community cohesion, and teaching in a really hostile environment, walking the talk, quite difficulty. Imam lived for 55 years, that's it. He was one of 37 children. So he had 36 brothers and sisters. Okay, different mothers, okay, but still, 36 brothers and sisters. Most of the people who are known as Radhawi, or you might know them as Rizwi, are not Radhawi. They're actually, they call themselves Radhawi to make them feel good, but they're actually Musawi or Taqawi, because Imam had only one son, Imam Muhammad Taqi. So when you hear Rizwi, it's Radhawi, but they liked Imam Rida very much. So born on 11th of Dhul Qa'dah, 148 after Hijrah, like I said, one of 37 children. Now, Imam's mama, and quite important, because we normally, when I talk to children, they will know the dad very well, because they know the names of the imams. When you ask them about mama, they don't know who the mama is, and yet she was very, very important. She was from North Africa, North African descent, called Kola Tuktam or Najma, which means a star. She was also known as Ummul Baneen. She was also known as Tahira or Sultana. At that time, women weren't in the limelight, so their names weren't quite advertised. But right from the start, every time she was talked about, in fact, the Prophet comes into a dream to Imam Qadim and talks about this woman whose son would bring divine guidance from the east to the west. You can look all that up. And he had a few titles, and I'll go through some of the titles first. One was Alime Ali Muhammad. So there's something to learn from there. It doesn't mean that the other imams weren't knowledgeable, but this is one of the titles given to him by the Aimma. We call him Gharibul Ghuraba. And funny enough, in Gujarati, Gharib means poor. In Arabic, it's somebody who's in a strange land. To me, when I went to Mashhad, and may Allah get all of us to go to Mashhad at some point, you find that he is probably not as gharib as those buried in Baqi, but that's a different thing altogether. He's known as Imam Zamin, and that's a story we tell children all the time. I don't know about you, but when I was young, in fact, when I got married at 16, by the way, okay? I've been married, how many years have I been married? 48, right? Something like that. Anyway, too long, okay. So when I was married, my mother tied this thing on my arm. Did they do that to you? Yeah? She tied this thing and she said, Imam Zamin, and she put some money in it. And I remember thinking, what is she doing? But this was a story about Imam Rida, about a deer and a hunter. And we tell the children this story all the time. So the deer is talking to Imam and says, I've got children to feed, and this hunter is going to kill me. You know what? I just want to feed my kids, and I will come back. And Imam tells the hunter, I will be surety, I will be zamin for this deer. And the deer goes, feeds its babies, and comes back. Eventually, the hunter frees the deer, so you'll be happy to know that. But what happened was, after that, it was quite difficult for anyone to carry the name of the Masumin. So if you had Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, whatever, you'd be persecuted. But at the time of Imam Ridha, and we'll talk about it, Ma'mun minted a coin. And on the coin, he had Imam Ridha's name. So people wanted to carry the name of the Ahlul Bayt as barakah, and therefore they tied it to themselves. We put the queen's head on. And I remember they used to tie this Imam Zamin on steering wheels as well. This money had to go to people who needed it, but we tied it to, anyway, let's forget about it. So that's Imam Zamin as such. Please send the money over, wear the name of Imam or any of the other Masumin and life works. Imam is known as Ar-Ridha, something that you probably all know, and that's what you talk about. When the 10th Imam was asked, he said even those who hated his principles could not deny his humility and his demeanor, the way he behaved. He was really soft in the way he was. Another name of Imam is Ar-Ra'uf. Now, I'm not quite sure whether you've read the ziyarah, but there's a ziyarah of Imam al-Jawadain, both the Imams, and in it, the Masumin call him Ar-Rauf, but there's a story that I tell children, and I absolutely love it. Rauf, okay, let me go back. Like I said, I like Asma'ul Husna. So I talk about, from the 99, the 3 R's, Rahman, Rahim, and Rauf. Come on, you got to join me a little bit, okay? They can be quiet, you can talk to me. Rahman, when I talk to the children, is like the dentist. If you have a toothache, that dentist will immediately take your pain away. Rahim is like the hygienist. You have to subscribe, and that hygienist will make sure that you don't have to go too far to the dentist. Ra'uf is the anesthetist. So that Rahma is just absolutely amazing. So Allah is known as Ra'uf. In Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 128, the Prophet is known as Ra'uf. Ra'uf is one who is so kind, so merciful. He distributes Allah's mercy without any pain at all. Now let me talk about Imam Ridha. So Sheikh Bahai was building the haram of Imam Ridha in Mashhad. When he was building the haram, he told the builder, you will not put the frame of the door that goes into the zari until I come in the morning, because I want to put a piece of paper so no sinners can go in. I'm sure Sheikh Bahai knew that Harun Rashid is buried there, but he didn't want any sinners to go in there. So the builder at night has a dream, and he sees Imam Ridha. And Imam Ridha tells him, I want you to build that frame before Sheikh Bahai comes in the morning. And he obviously knew that was his Imam. So he goes there at 4 o'clock in the morning, he builds the frame, he puts the whole structure in. When Sheikh Bahai comes, he's really upset because he says, but I told you not to do this. And when he tells him about his dream, we're told that Sheikh Bahai puts his head onto the frame and he says, Antal Imam al-Ra'uf. Indeed, you are an Imam of extreme mercy. Now, there's so many incidents about people who have gone there and the transformation they've gone. So this Imam is known as Ra'uf. Just my 2 pennies worth. Because this is his day, ask Allah in the name of the Prophet who is Ra'uf and the Imam who is Ra'uf. And there is so many things that can be solved with that. So now let's, like I said, with every building, we divide it into sections. So we're going to do exactly the same with Imam. If we divide Imam's life into 3 parts, when I say 3 parts, maybe 4, but let's start with 3. I said he lived for 55 years. So you divide it first in 0 to 35. 0 to 35 is up till the time that his father was murdered. So 35 was the age when his dad was murdered. I could say here he stayed with his dad for 0 to about 31 years. And then for 4 years, Imam was put in a really, really horrible prison in Baghdad, and he suffered quite a lot. So in this time, Imam Ridha was in Medina, and he's trying to teach people community cohesion. We'll talk about this in a minute. The second section is 35 to 52. You could also divide that into 2. You've got 35 to 42 and 42 to 52. At 42, Harun Rashid dies, and Harun Rashid dies in Khorasan, which is today known as Mashhad. Used to be Sanabad or Tus or Khorasan, whatever you want to call it. Harun Rashid was pretty mean to Imam. There are many, many incidents that talk about how he sent soldiers to Imam's house to empty the house out, to terrorize Imam, and so on and so forth. What we see today is what happened then as well. From 42 to 52, they left Imam a little bit because Mamun, see, Harun Rashid had two sons. Sorry, historically it's quite boring. But Harun Rashid had two sons. He had three, but Mamun and Amin sort of fought. Amin's mom was Arab. Mamun's mom was Persian. And that is why Mamun spent a lot of time in Khorasan. And when Harun saw this, that this was before he died, he took a pledge from both his sons that Amin would look after the Arab world and Mamun would look after the Persian world. But that didn't happen. As soon as he died, Amin declared himself as the ruler, as that he would take over, and Mamun sent an army from Persia. Lots of fighting going on. In the end, Mamun arranges for Amin to be killed and his head was sent. That's his brother. Okay, so this is what has happened when Imam was between the ages of 42 and 52. By the way, in between, when he was 45, his only son is born, Imam Muhammad al-Taqi. Very many accusations, just as there were made at the Prophet when Maria Qibtiyya gave birth to a child, that this is not his child. They didn't have DNA then, so they used a genealogist and finally proved that Imam Muhammad al-Taqi was his child. So there's a lot of things going on. Now, in this time, he taught community cohesion. Now, these are simple things. All of you know them, but like I said, enough of the dhikr. It is cool to repeat stuff so you know them. So the first thing that Imam would teach them was TTC. I call it TTC, Imam didn't call it TTC. The Prophet is known as TTC, which is truthful, trustworthy, and compassionate. And it's not either or. It's truthful plus trustworthy plus compassionate. And those were how he got people together. He told them simple things. He said, don't lie. You want to go to Jannah? You want the pleasure of Allah? Don't lie. Two, if somebody gives you an amana, and amana doesn't only mean a trust in the form of things. He said, even if somebody tells you something, keep it. These were simple things he said. He said, it's good to be quiet. Don't expose anyone. He obviously wasn't subject to social media today or AI, which can make you say things that you didn't even say. So he wasn't subjected to that, but at that time this was a problem as well. He talked about humility and he talked about rahmah. Very, very simple stuff. And these are the talks that he gave in Medina. Like I said, this was up to the age of 52. Only 3 years in Khorasan. At 52, when Mamun hears that the popularity of Imam has increased and scholars were flocking to Medina, he wanted Imam to come to Khorasan. One, because of his popularity. B, because Mamun wanted the people of Iran to be on his side. Remember, he changed the capital of the Islamic Ummah from Baghdad to Marv, or Khorasan as you might want to call it, or Sanabad, whatever you want. I'll call it Khorasan at the moment. He wanted Imam to come there because he wanted to have some sort of ratification by the people that he accepted the Ahlul Bayt. And he kept on saying that these are the people I'm supporting. He didn't. He just wanted to be... Anyway. The route that Imam takes from Medina to Khorasan wasn't the general route. You had to go through Baghdad, but he took the sideways route because he didn't want Imam to go through any places where there were Shia enclaves because he knew what would happen. So Imam takes a long route. Incidentally, Imam did not want to go, but he said, either you come or you will suffer the same thing that your father did, and we will kill you. And Imam saw this as an opportunity to be able to, if I can say, talk about divine guidance. Imam gets to Qum. Most of you know Qum because you know Fatima Masumai Qum, which is Imam's sister. When Imam gets to Qum, that's the first 10 days of Majalis of Muharram, because he spends Muharram there. So I know the first Majalis was by Sayyidah Zainab in Damascus, but the first 10 Majalis that we do, it's a sunnah of Imam Ridha. And most of the ahadith we have by Ibn Shabib, Rayan Ibn Shabib, is a companion of Imam Ridha. He encouraged the commemoration of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. So he gets to Marv, or he gets to Khorasan, whatever you want to call it. And there's a big pomp and ceremony that's done by Mamun. He invites absolutely everyone, he mints a coin, and he says, look, I have made him heir apparent. Imam is pretty upset. There are a lot of ahadith about what he says. Now what Mamun does, he's a politician, and he thinks that I'm going to embarrass Imam. So he puts Imam in his court, and he loves debates, and he calls scholars, global scholars, to debate with Imam. And in his mind, as we are told, he wants to belittle Imam. He wants to make sure that Imam is wrong. But every time somebody comes, obviously, Imam is the one who comes up trumps, and Mamun gets very, very restless. He's upset, he gets insecure, he gets jealous. He really doesn't know what to do, because now people just want to come. They just want to flock to Khorasan. And remember, he wanted to take Imam completely away, put him in some corner in Khorasan so nobody would be there. But everybody wanted to come, just as you and I go to anybody who is absolutely anywhere and who's awesome, we want to go there. There are a few incidents that come up, and I'll tell you one of them. So Mamun calls all the experts, weather experts, and he tells them, there's no rain. There has been no rain in Tus for 6 months. A drought is coming up. And they tell him, they call him Amirul Mu'mineen, they call him the head of everybody, and they say, you know what? Nothing's going to happen. No rain's going to happen. There's no rain on the horizon. So he says, now this is the time to actually belittle Imam. And he comes to Imam and he says, there's no rain. So Imam said, it'll rain on Wednesday. And he says, why not today? He says, because like the Prophet, I will fast for 3 days first. Incidentally, that is a lesson for us. If you want hajat to be fulfilled, fast for 3 days. So normally people pray Salatul Istisqa, which is Salat for rain, on a Friday. Imam prays it on a Wednesday. There is nothing about being good or bad, by the way, if you pray it on a Wednesday. Imam prays it on a Wednesday, and clouds gather. And people try to run away to go to their homes. And Imam says, it's okay. When you get to your home and you close your door, that's when it's going to rain. So that's another thing that that Mamun couldn't get through. There's so many incidents about Mamun trying to put Imam down. I can tell you all of them, but obviously we don't have the time. All you need to do is look at the miracles of Imam Ridha. They're absolutely phenomenal. Sayyid Khouy says that out of all the Aimma, including Sayyid al-Shuhada, he says, if you want the most thawab, go and visit Imam Ridha. Now, 6 weeks ago, I was ill, quite ill. So much so that the only thing that would take the pain away was morphine. And it was pretty bad. And then there's a lot of things that happened that made things better. But one I cannot forget. There was this young lady who went to Iran, and she found out I was not well. So she texted me and she said, I got to Tehran and I was told you weren't well. So she said, I canceled my ticket and I went back to Mashhad. Sorry, I get a bit emotional. She said, I went back to Mashhad and I stayed there and I told Imam Ridha, I will not leave until she gets better. Now, this is an acquaintance, not a friend, not somebody I know, nothing. And the moment she sent that text, I felt better. So I'm telling you from experience what Imam Ridha does. So today, and every day for that matter, please use him as your wasila. Allah is the first cause, we all know that. But he has given us these fantastic personalities to be able to know, to be able to understand. And in 3 years, this personality changed a whole country. So much so that the moment you say Iran, you say Imam Ridha. 3 years, that's it. And we live a lifetime. I'm 66, and we don't make any changes. That doesn't make us followers of Imam. So 2 things to take back. Please learn about him, read about him. There's so many books about him. And I'll end with one thing. Mamun wanted to be Superman. He wanted to live forever. So he told Imam Ridha, can you please give me advice of what to eat and what not to eat so I can live forever? So Imam gives him a treatise. Mamun likes it so much that he has it printed and written in gold. It's known as Silsilatul Zahabiyah, the treatise that is written in gold. We've got it on the website. We've got extracts from it on the website. Please read it, because it tells you what to do in January, February, March. It takes the solar months, by the way. And it tells you exactly what to eat and what not to eat to have premium health. If you look at what the nutritionists tell you now and what is in that treatise, it's amazing. As a child, my father used to give me Sharabus Salihin. Now, I'm not going to give you the recipe. It's in there, okay? And my father used to make it. And he used to say, this is what Imam Ridha taught. And it protects you from a lot of things. And I guess I got sick because I stopped eating or drinking Sharabul Salihin. But please try. Please look at it. Give it to your children. Give it to yourself. And use the recipes that he gave. They are eternal. Thank you very much for listening. Can we have a salawat, please? Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad wa ajil farj. We've up to time. It's 29.
Thank you very much. We now have some time for questions. If you have a question, please put your hand up.
That's really good. I can go. Please. It's on the website. If you go on to qfatima.com, we have on Q Live, if you Google it, you will find it. It's in there, yeah. We've got extracts from Silsilat al-Zahabiyah that have been translated into English. .com, yes. I'm sure other places have it as well. I think Pir Muhammad Ibrahim Trust have produced the whole book, but the English is a little bit different. And they use things like rattal, and I think the amounts they've used are a bit difficult to translate. You'll have to look them up.
Do you have any other questions?
Thank you for your talk. You said that the Imam's mother was North African. And then I understand from people like Amina in-laws that there have been a lot of African mothers of the Imams. So in all likelihood, the 12th Imam will be, well, black, most likely.
Could be. I remember when when the people from Somalia came to London, and I remember at Stanmore in the boys section, we had a lot of children with a darker complexion and sort of curly hair, and they felt different because obviously the Khojas were a little bit apprehensive about them. But the moment you said that either Imam Muhammad Taqi or Imam Rida or whatever had those traits in them, suddenly you saw their faces light up.
So how would the Iranians...
It's not a blue-eyed blonde.
How would the Iranians react to a black Imam?
Forget about the Iranians. How will the Khojis react to a black Imam? If he's not brown and he's not Khoja, he's got problems. I'm not even going that far. Can I go back?
Are there any further questions?
They're all good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, just some announcement before Salah. Next week, we'll have our Friday talk by Baroness Wasi on her book, Muslims Don't Matter. The following week, we have Nafis Musaddiq Ahmed on his book, Alt-Right. And the following week, we have Alia Khalid Manji talking to us about pensions. So please do join us in the coming weeks on Fridays. That one. Next Saturday is the protest, and we'll be, inshallah, leaving from here at 12 noon if you'd like to join us for the Palestine demonstration. We also have events